Raven Studio.
Part 1. Tape 1. Don't come looking. If you're listening to this, don't come looking for me. I'm serious. I don't care how convincing this sounds, or how much you think you can handle it. Don't come. Because tonight I watched someone walk through the trees with no flashlight, no lantern, nothing, just gliding between trunks like they knew every root, every rock. And when I put binoculars on them, when I finally got a clear look, they were looking up at my tower, and they were smiling. I'm making these recordings on an old cassette player I found up here. This isn't a podcast. This isn't a series. I'm not doing this for attention. I'm doing it because I need a record, something outside my head, because I don't trust my own thoughts anymore, and because there are people out there who would hear this and think, road trip, mystery, let's go find the creepy tower guy. So I'm going to say it again. This is somewhere in the United States, deep enough that the nearest town feels like a rumor. And I'm not telling you where, not even the state, not even a region, because I've seen what curiosity does. I've seen how it turns into obsession, and I don't want anyone else to get hurt trying to prove I'm lying. My name is Luther. I'm 35. Divorced, recently, violently, in that slow way that doesn't leave bruises but somehow leaves you worse off. I took this job because I wanted quiet, a reset, a place where the only thing I had to do was watch for smoke, log the weather, call things in over the radio. I did this exact kind of work when I was 18, one summer, one season, one tower. Back then, it felt like freedom. No bills, no meetings, no constant noise, just trees and sky and the honest boredom of responsibility. So when I saw the listing this year, I told myself it would be easy. I told myself I'd come out here, get my head straight, stack a little money, sleep like a human being again. I was wrong. Let me rewind. I need you to understand how it started, because the way it started is the part that makes me feel insane, like I'm taking random dots and forcing them into a pattern, like I'm making a monster out of coincidence. Day 1. The tower. The tower is older than it should be, not ancient, just tired, like it's been holding its breath for decades, 4 legs bolted into rock, a staircase that sways just enough to remind you that gravity has opinions. Up here, it's a cabin on stilts, windows all around, a cot, a tiny propane stove, a desk, a radio console that looks like it survived 3 wars, and a smell, dry wood, old dust, sun-baked metal. On day 1, I did the things you're supposed to do. Inventory, test radio, logbook entries. The dispatcher's voice came through clean. Lookout 7, radio check. Lookout 7, loud and clear. Her name is Mara, that's all I know. She's the only voice that feels normal out here. She told me the usual, no hiking past certain markers, don't play hero, log everything, call in smoke, and stay in the tower at night unless it's an emergency. And then she said something that didn't match the tone, like she couldn't stop herself. If you hear singing, don't answer. Singing? Forget I said that. It's an old joke. Tower folklore. Tower folklore. Right. That should have been my first clue. Week 1. Small things. Week 1 was almost peaceful. The kind of peace that makes you think you made the right choice. Sunrise looks like it was painted. The forest is an ocean of green, and I'm floating above it. But at night, the quiet isn't quiet. It's crowded. It started with footsteps. Not on the stairs, not on the platform. Below, around the tower's legs, slow circles in the pine needles. The first time I told myself, deer. Second time, raccoon. Third time, maybe a bear. So I leaned out the window with my flashlight and did what you do when you're pretending you're not afraid. Hey, get out of here. My voice fell into the trees like a rock into deep water. No echo, just swallowed. And the footsteps stopped immediately, like whatever it was had been listening for my reaction. That got under my skin. Because animals don't stop like that. Not clean. They run, they crash, they move. This was like someone lifted a needle off a record. After that, I started locking the trapdoor at night, which sounds ridiculous, like a locked wooden hatch is going to stop a bear or a person. But the act of locking it made me feel like I had a say in my own safety. I didn't. The first weird detail. There's a boundary line out here. Not a fence, not a wall, just signs and old paint on trees and the kind of do not enter warnings people ignore because they think they're the exception. A few miles from the tower, there's a service trail that forks. One branch is maintained, gravel, drainage, the works. The other branch is older, overgrown. Like the forest is actively reclaiming it. Near that fork, there's a dead snag of a tree and someone carved into it. Not initials, not a heart, a symbol. At first glance, it looks like a child's doodle. A circle, a vertical line through it, and two short hooks like arms. But the longer you look, the more it feels deliberate, like a mark, like ownership. I snapped a photo on my phone. No signal out here, but I wanted proof for myself. I snapped a photo on my phone. No signal out here, but I wanted proof for myself. Then I went back to the tower and tried to forget about it. That night, I dreamed the symbol was carved into the inside of my skull, like my thoughts had to pass through it to exist. I know how that sounds. I was divorced and alone and sleeping in a creaky box above a forest. My brain was going to do what brains do. So I started a rule. No reading into things. No horror movie thinking. No, the woods are alive. Just do the job. It worked. For a little while. Week 2, the voice on the tape. The cassette player wasn't mine. I found it in a drawer under the desk, wrapped in a rag like someone meant to come back for it. There were tapes too, blank ones, and a few labeled in faded marker. Tape 03. Wind. Tape 06. Boundary. Tape 09. Don't. I shouldn't have touched them. But boredom is a powerful drug, and curiosity is worse. I played Wind first. It was mostly static and weather notes. The voice was a man's, older than me, flat, careful. Winds shifting southwest, smell of rain, can't sleep, hearing it again. Then a pause, a long one, like he was listening. If you're out there, you're not welcome. And then the tape ended. I stared at the player for a long time after that, trying to convince myself it was just a guy talking to coyotes or teenagers or his own nerves. Then I did the stupid thing. I recorded over a blank tape, this tape and started talking. Just talking, like I'm doing now. At the end of my first recording attempt, I hit stop, rewound a little, and listened back to make sure the machine worked. My voice played, then silence, then a sound behind my words. Not loud, not dramatic, just something like a breath that wasn't mine. And underneath it, so faint I thought I imagined it, a whisper. It sounded like my name. I replayed it until my skin crawled. Sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't, which is exactly what you'd expect if you were losing your mind. So I stopped recording for 2 days. Then I woke up on the third night to the smell of smoke. Not wildfire smoke, not the big looming kind. This was campfire smoke. Close enough that it crept into the tower like a hand under a door. I went to the window and looked out into miles of black trees, and I saw lights. 3, 4, 5 flickers between trunks, moving in a line far below, like people walking with torches. No campsite is allowed out there, no trail, nothing. I called it in. Dispatch, I've got multiple lights moving in the basin north-northeast, could be campers. Copy, lookout 7, do not investigate. I'll notify patrol. They're not on a trail. Copy, stay in your tower. Her voice was steady, but it had a thinness to it, like she was holding something back. And then she said the line that made my stomach drop. Lock your hatch tonight. I didn't ask why. I just did it. This is the part where I started bargaining with myself. Option 1, pretend the lights weren't real. Stay in the tower, do the job, let patrol handle it. Option 2, go down there like an idiot and prove what? That I can still be brave? That I'm not a coward in a wooden box? My marriage ended in 1,000 little moments where I chose the easy quiet over the hard conversation. I told myself I was keeping the peace. What I was really doing was avoiding discomfort until discomfort became a permanent address. So when I saw those lights moving where they shouldn't, my brain did something nasty. It offered me a chance to be someone else, someone who acts. But there's a difference between courage and self-destruction, and I didn't know which one I was craving. That night, I stayed in the tower. I watched the lights drift through the trees for almost an hour, slow and purposeful. Sometimes they stopped, clustered together like they were listening. At one point, all of them went out at once. Not one by one, all at once. Like someone closed a fist. And then, this is the detail I can't shake. Something pale moved where the lights had been. Not a flashlight beam, not a reflection. A shape, tall, still. And even at that distance, I had the sick certainty that it was facing my tower. I backed away from the window. I didn't sleep. Week 3. 2 hikers went missing. That's what Mara said on the radio, like she was reading weather. We've got 2 overdue hikers. Search starts at first light. Stay alert for smoke or signals. Overdue hikers happen. People underestimate wilderness. They bring a water bottle and a granola bar and act surprised when the forest doesn't care about confidence. But then she added, and Luther, if you see anyone off trail, you call it in. You do not engage. She'd never used my name like that before, not in that tone. After that, I started seeing things in daylight, not monsters. Worse, little wrongness. A deer standing in the open, watching my tower for 10 straight minutes without blinking. a flock of birds lifting off all at once, not because something scared them, but like they were obeying a silent command, a wind that moved the trees in one direction, while the grass below bent the opposite way. I tried to ignore it. I did. I told myself, "You're tired, you're stressed, you're grieving, you're inventing patterns." And then I found something on my stairs. A strip of cloth tied neatly around a railing post. Not bright, not new, faded, like it had been worn and washed too many times. It looked like the edge of a shirt, like someone had marked my tower. I didn't touch it. I stared at it for a long time, heart hammering, and then I did what any rational adult man would do. I cut it off with a kitchen knife and threw it off the platform like it was contaminated. That night, the footsteps returned. Circling, slow, patient. And then, after maybe 10 minutes of it, something tapped once on the tower's leg. Just tap, then again, then a long pause, then 3 taps, like a pattern. I sat on my cot with my flashlight in my hands like it was a weapon, staring at the trapdoor, waiting for it to rattle. It never did. The tapping stopped. And the worst part, in the silence after, I heard something else, a sound like humming. Very soft, so soft it could have been wind in the seams, but it had rhythm and it had intention. This is where you're going to decide I'm full of it. On the 4th night of week 3, I woke up to someone calling my name, not outside, not under the tower, inside, right next to my cot, like a whisper in the dark. "Luther." My eyes snapped open. My whole body went cold. I reached for the lantern. My fingers wouldn't work. And then I saw, I swear to God, I saw a faint glow near the far window. Not a flashlight, not moonlight. A soft, greenish light, like fireflies gathered into a shape. It wasn't human. It wasn't a person standing there. It was more like the air had decided to become a figure for a second. And I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Comfort. I know, that sounds insane. But the moment it happened, my chest unclenched. My thoughts stopped punching each other. For half a second, it felt like I wasn't alone in the way that hurts. The figure tilted, as if it was looking at me, and then the glow slid across the window glass like liquid and disappeared. I sat up shaking, and I did what I should have done weeks ago. I called Mara. "Dispatch, I think someone's out here." "Say again?" I heard my name. "Inside the tower. Are all doors and windows secured?" "Yes, Luther, listen to me. Do not open the hatch tonight for any reason." "What is?" "Just promise me." I promised. And when I hung up, I realized my hands smelled like pine sap. I hadn't touched any trees. Week 4, the right night. A storm rolled in, dry lightning, distant thunder, the kind of weather that makes everyone nervous because one strike can turn 100 acres into a headline. I was on high alert, scanning for smoke, doing my job, trying to be normal. At sunset, I saw the lights again, more of them this time, dozens. They moved like a slow river through the trees, deep in the basin where the old trail disappears, and then the radio crackled with a call that didn't sound like Mara. "Lookout 7. You see them, don't you?" I froze, my throat locked up. "Dispatch? Mara?" "Don't lie. You see the little fireflies down there?" Fireflies. That's what the glowing thing had looked like. My skin went prickly. I switched channels. More static. Then Mara's voice, sharp and urgent. Luther, stay off the air. Do you understand? If you hear anyone else, anyone, do not respond. Mara, someone's... I know, she said, like she'd been living with this longer than me. Then a new call came in, another voice, male, breathless, far away, like someone speaking while running. Dispatch, we've got... Mara snapped back. All units, repeat last transmission. Silence. Then, Luther, stay in the tower. And then she said the thing that forced my hand. There are people in the woods tonight who don't know what they walked into. My stomach dropped, because I remembered the missing hikers. I remembered the cloth on my stairs. I remembered the humming, and I realized the lights weren't campers. They were a gathering, a rite. I watched through binoculars until my eyes ached. Between the torches I could make out movement, figures in dark clothes, faces hidden. They weren't stumbling like drunk campers. They moved like they'd rehearsed. And every few minutes, the wind carried something up to me. Not words, not clear speech. A chant. A low, hungry sound. I should have called 911, but there's no service. Radio is the only lifeline, and Mara was already coordinating patrol. And then, this is the moral knife twist, the radio popped again with a new message. Luther, we lost contact with a patrol team near the old fork. They were checking reports of... She cut herself off, like she realized she was telling me too much. Then she finished anyway. Reports of people setting up something out there. People. The word sounded inadequate, like calling a hurricane weather. I looked at the map pinned to my desk. The old fork, the carved symbol. My brain did a fast, ugly calculation. If patrol was down near the fork and the lights were in the basin, then the line between them ran right past my tower. And then I saw something else through the binoculars, a smaller light, separate from the group. A white flashlight beam, erratic, bouncing. Someone alone, someone who didn't know. And behind them, in the dark, a line of torches shifted direction like a school of fish sensing blood. Here was my choice. Stay in the tower like I was told, safe, employed, obedient, or break every rule and go down there into the dark to maybe save someone, or die for someone who would never know my name. Two evils, cowardice with a locked hatch, or heroism that might be just another way to punish myself. I sat there for a full minute, shaking, trying to decide which version of me I could live with. And then the humming started again, not below the tower, inside my skull, soft, familiar, like a lullaby I'd forgotten. And for the first time, I had the sick thought, what if it wants me to go? That thought should have stopped me. It didn't. It pushed me. I grabbed the flare gun from the emergency kit, standard issue, bright red, the only thing I had that could be seen from a distance. I took my flashlight, my radio, and before I could think better, I unlocked the hatch. The night air hit me like cold water. Going down the stairs, every step felt like a decision you can't take back. The tower groaned above me, and for a second I imagined it leaning away, like it didn't want to be involved. At the bottom, the forest swallowed me immediately. The tower light was a weak halo behind my shoulder, and everything else was layered darkness. I moved fast, quieter than I thought I could, toward the fork, toward the carved symbol. Halfway there, The flashlight beam caught something hanging from a branch. Not an animal. A bundle of sticks tied with twine, dangling like a crude ornament, and beneath it, a strip of cloth, same faded fabric as the one on my stairs. My stomach rolled. I kept going. Then my radio crackled. "Luther, where are you?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. If I spoke, it would make this real. The lone flashlight beam ahead bobbed closer. Whoever it was had turned around, maybe realizing they were being followed. I raised my hand to wave, to call out, and then the torches behind them brightened, and the chanting rose, not loud, but nearer. The lone person's light jittered wildly, panic. They broke into a run. The torches accelerated in response. I had seconds, so I fired the flare. The forest turned blood-colored for an instant. Just color, not gore, like a warning light in a nightmare. The chanting stopped dead. The lone runner froze and looked up, blinded. And then I saw the group for the first time with clarity. Not faces, not details, just masks. Dark shapes where human features should be, and a stillness in them that didn't look like surprise. It looked like recognition, like the flare wasn't unexpected, like it was part of the script. Then something moved between me and them. That soft green glow, those firefly light particles, appeared again, low to the ground, drifting like fog. It slid across the forest floor toward me and then stopped, as if it was waiting. And I felt that comfort again, that false warmth, that it's okay, you're safe lie. The glow shifted, and for a second I thought it was pointing, guiding me away from the torchline. I didn't question it. I followed. We moved through trees I didn't recognize. The glow always just ahead, like a lantern carried by a careful hand. Behind us, the torches resumed, slower now, no longer chasing the runner. They were tracking me. My radio burst with static, and then the unknown voice again, amused. "Good boy." I nearly threw the radio into the dirt. The glow led me to a rock outcropping, an old spine of stone that rose from the forest like a broken tooth. From there, I could see down into a shallow clearing, and in that clearing, the group had gathered. They weren't after the runner. They were preparing something. A circle of stones, a pit, a structure that looked like antlers tied into a frame. I couldn't see what was inside the pit. I didn't want to, but I saw enough to understand what Mara meant. These weren't drunk campers. This was ritual. And then, because the forest loves timing, the lone runner stumbled into the edge of the clearing, coughing, exhausted, light flickering. The group turned as one. No rushing, no yelling, just turning, like the whole mass shared one spine. The runner backed up, tripped, fell. I raised my flare gun again, hands trembling. Two evils again. Fire into the clearing and reveal myself. Maybe save them, maybe die, or stay hidden and let it happen. My divorce flashed in my mind like a cruel joke. How many times I stayed silent because it was easier. So I fired again. The runner screamed, more shock than pain, and scrambled backward. The masked figures looked up at me, at the rock outcropping. And then, slowly, almost politely, they began walking toward my position, not running. Walking, like they knew I had nowhere to go. The green glow beside me pulsed, almost excited, and the comfort feeling turned into something else. Possession, like a hand closing around my wrist. I felt a pressure in my palm, hot and sharp. I looked down. A mark, fresh, red, raised, appeared on my skin. That same symbol, circle, line, hooks. I didn't carve it. It wasn't there 5 minutes ago. It was on me. And below, the masked figures started humming. Not chanting, humming. The same tune I'd heard around my tower, a lullaby. I ran. I don't remember the route back, not clearly. I remember trees whipping past. I remember tripping and catching myself on a trunk slick with sap. I remember the tower appearing ahead like a lighthouse and feeling no relief at all, because the comfort glow stayed with me, just ahead, guiding me. And the whole time, I kept thinking, is it helping me or hurting me? I hit the stairs and took them 2 at a time. The tower groaned like it was alive. Behind me, the forest filled with soft footsteps, many feet, careful feet. I slammed the trapdoor shut and locked it with shaking hands. And then I did something I never do. I prayed, not to God, to anything listening that wasn't them. The humming rose under the tower, right beneath my feet. Then the tapping began. 1, 2, 3, a pause. Then a scraping sound, like someone dragging something heavy across the dirt. Then Mara's voice, faint on the radio, fighting through static. Luthor, respond. Are you in the tower? I grabbed the mic, but my voice wouldn't come out. And then another voice cut in over her, close and intimate, like it was in the room with me. Tell her you went out. Tell her you broke the rule. I slammed the radio off. Below me, the humming changed. The note slid lower. And someone laughed once, soft, delighted. Then the footsteps began circling the tower's legs, slow and patient, like before. But now there were more of them, and they weren't leaving. I sat at the desk, sweating cold, staring at my own hands. The symbol on my palm throbbed like a bruise with a heartbeat. I could still smell smoke, and underneath it, something sweet, like crushed pine needles, like sap, like the smell that appeared on my hands the night the glow visited me. I didn't know what to do, so I did the only thing that made sense. I hit record. I told the tape what happened, shaky and fast, trying to pin reality down with words. I told it about the lights, the masks, the runner, the pit, the mark on my hand. And when I finished, I stopped the tape and rewound to listen back, because I needed to hear it, to make sure I wasn't dreaming. My voice played, my panic, my breathing. Then silence. Then a sound behind my words again, like a breath not mine. And then, clearly, unmistakably, a second voice layered over the end of my recording. Not Mara, not the unknown radio voice. Something else. Something that didn't sound like it came through air. It sounded like it came through the wood itself. You shouldn't have left. My blood turned to ice. I hadn't said that. The tape continued. My voice, me, whispered something next, but it wasn't what I remembered saying. It was softer, obedient, like I was repeating a phrase someone fed me. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Then the second voice again, almost gentle. Now you belong. I yanked the cassette out so hard it snapped my fingernail. I stared at the tape in my hand like it was alive. Below, the footsteps stopped, all at once. And in the silence that followed, I heard something outside my window. A soft scrape on glass, like a fingertip. Then a shape passed through the edge of my flashlight beam, slow, deliberate. I moved to the window like an idiot, like a moth. And there, reflected in the glass, I saw Not the forest. Not my face. A pale figure standing behind me inside the tower, smiling. I'm ending this recording right now. If something happens to me, if you find these tapes somehow, don't come here. Because whatever that glow was, whatever put this mark on my hand, I don't think it saved me tonight. I think it claimed me. 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 I think